If you say Advent today, most people think of calendars, little cardboard doors, bits of chocolate, maybe even gin, cheese, Lego. For our medieval and Tudor ancestors, Advent would have felt very different. It wasn't about counting down with treats, it was about holding back. I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and welcome to day one of my Tudor Christmas Advent series. Today I'm looking at what Advent actually meant in the medieval and Tudor world and how it set the stage for the real Christmas season that began on the 25th of December. Let's start with the basics. In the Church's calendar, Advent was a season like Lent, not a simple December countdown. It began on Advent Sunday, the Sunday closest to the feast of St Andrew, the 30th of November. So the first day of Advent could fall in late November or early December. Advent Sunday was also the start of the liturgical year, the Church's new year. The word Advent comes from the Latin adventus, meaning coming or arrival, or advenire, to come towards. For a Tudor Christian, it referred to three comings of Christ: his birth at Bethlehem, his coming into the hearts of believers, and his promised return at the end of time. So Advent was a time to prepare, spiritually and practically. Like Lent, Advent was associated with penitence and abstinence. That didn't mean everyone starved themselves for 4 weeks, but it did mean fasting or abstaining from meat, a generally more restrained, sober period before the celebrations of Christ's birth, and extra emphasis on prayer, confession, almsgiving, and attending church. And then there was Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve was treated even more strictly than the rest of Advent. No meat, no eggs, no butter or cheese, right up until midnight mass, when Advent ended and Christmas finally began. So while we're used to December as a month of parties, mince pies and mulled wine, a Tudor household would have been easing off, not ramping up. They were waiting, and that waiting was the point. To understand where all this sits, we need to zoom out for a moment. When the early church wanted to celebrate the birth of Christ, it didn't plant the nativity in a random quiet month. It grew up alongside older midwinter traditions, solstice rituals marking the return of the light, Roman festivals like Saturnalia with feasting, candles, role reversals and gift-giving. Writers like Miles and John Hadfield have pointed out that the early church didn't simply ban everything, it often reframed it. The winter darkness became a backdrop for Christ, the light of the world. The joy, fires, greenery and gift-giving were redirected towards the celebration of the Incarnation. By the time we reach the Tudor period, Advent and Christmas are firmly Christian seasons, but you can still feel those older midwinter instincts in the background. The desire for light, warmth, community, and a break from ordinary life. Advent is the disciplined side of that midwinter story, the fasting and watching before the feasting and revelry begin. Some of the things we associate with Advent today simply didn't exist in Tudor England. The Advent wreath with its circle of evergreens and 4 candles in its modern form is a later German Lutheran development, really taking off in the 19th century. Advent calendars, whether cardboard, chocolate or anything more elaborate, are also 19th to 20th century creations. So a Tudor walking into one of our homes in early December would see decorations already up, calendars on the wall, possibly even a tree if you're very keen, and probably think that we'd started Christmas far too early. For them, Advent was liturgical, marked in church, in the prayers, the readings, the calendar. Physical, in the food they didn't eat, the celebrations they postponed. Spiritual, a time to examine themselves, confess and make ready for Christ's coming. We tend to think of December being the Christmas season and Christmas Day the 25th as the climax, then it's all over. But for a Tudor it worked very differently. Advent was the run-up, a quieter, more restrained time. The 25th of December was the beginning of the feast, and from Christmas Day through to Twelfth Night, you had the true 12 days of Christmas. That's when you got the big feasts, the revels, the Lord of Misrule, and the topsy-turvy fun, the feast days like St. Stephen, Holy Innocents and Epiphany. I'm going to save the details of those 12 days, the food, drinks, games, Lord of Misrule, wassailing and all the rest, for a separate video in this Advent series. But for today, the key thing is this: Advent for the Tudors was preparation. Thank you for joining me for this first day of my Tudor Christmas Advent series. Over the next days, I'll be diving into St. Nicholas and the Boy Bishop, the real 12 days of Christmas, Tudor Christmas food and drink, and traditions like the Lord of Misrule, mumming and wassailing. Tell me in the comments, do you do anything special to mark Advent? If you'd like to walk through a full Tudor Christmas with me day by day, then please do like this video, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss tomorrow's instalment. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.